So today's speaker, this is so appropriate because here we are, it's January, and Mars is literally just turning direct. Mars has been in retrograde. So we've been in this like sluggish period where it's been really hard to get things moving. And it's kind of one of those periods when things are in retrograde that you're meant to kind of go back and look at what was and, maybe revisit things that you started before. It's like a cleanup period, a reassessment or a time to contemplate. And now finally, Mars is moving forward. And then coming up on the 18th, I think it is, I think Mercury also goes direct. And then finally, we will feel like we're moving ahead again. But today is the first day that we will start feeling some of that Mars moving forward again energy, which is all about if you want to start something, you got to wait till Mars is moving direct. So this is the time to start thinking about what you want your new life, the new year, what you want your life to be. And so I invited Wendy Witt, who is going to share with us some super cool tools and ideas to guide us through thinking about life design, doing this very intentionally about how do we design our lives as spiritual seekers to support us in the upcoming year. So I want to invite you guys to welcome Wendy, and let me go ahead and get you spotlighted here so that everybody can see you. Thank you so much for joining us, Wendy. And Wendy,
Hi.
for those of you who have not met Wendy is a multi-talented powerhouse of a person. She's a coach she's an attorney. She helps people achieve phenomenal financial success in their practices. And she also has a pretty vast and impressive toolkit. Not only is she highly intuitive herself, she channels, and she is a highly spiritual person. But she also has a lot of practical ways of bringing our spiritual essence into the world in terms of things and practical things that we can do to help us in our journey. So anyways, welcome, Wendy. I'm really excited to see what you have in store for us today.
Thank you, Anne. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate being here. If you'll see in the back, I have a lot of feminine energy art being installed because that's one of the things I need to work on and get balance with my male and feminine energies. And being a lawyer, I lean towards the male energy. So we're working really hard to get that balanced throughout my life and each day as we move forward. I'm so glad to be here. I know some of you, it's nice to see your faces and it's nice to meet new people. And I look forward to gathering with you someday in person. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. We'll talk about life design. What you might find interesting is that I teach all these same concepts to lawyers all across the country and Canada. I work with the owners of solo and small firms often. I am a law firm business strategist and a mindset mentor, in addition to being an estates attorney myself. So what I'm teaching you would be great for any of your friends. It would be great for children and grandchildren. And I tell you what, I certainly wish I had learned all this so many years ago, but as we learn it now and apply it, you can have power and excitement over whatever you're creating now. And there's plenty of time for you to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and share. So, Anne, I think I need to be a co-host.
Oh, let me do that for you. And then also, if anybody has questions as we're going, pop them in the chat and I will monitor the chat and make sure that Wendy sees them. Okay.
Oh, and Anne, would you want to put in the link for, so I do have a workbook that, and actually, if you don't have the workbook with you right now, that's okay. You can load it from the link or you can look at it later because I have jam-packed so much good information in this hour. I will have lots of time to get you started on the exercises, but this is actually something that you can continue on yourself if it resonates with you. I didn't want to leave anything out.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so here we go. Macro to micro. And taught me to notice how what is true on the macro is true on the micro. And so that's what we're talking about today, really the big to the little. And we're talking about life design so that you can choose the experiences that you have, how you respond to the experiences, and design your life to be what you want. The goal is more joy. And yeah. And so I work with Anne, and she knows this is one of my things. So this is why I talk about it, and I'm learning it and growing into it and experiencing it myself. What I consider joy, and there's joy and there's happiness and there's different words and definitions. What I think of when I know I'm in joy, I feel like I'm in the zone, like I used to do when I would take tests, like try to get myself in the zone, or before I hop on and talk to good people like you, working to get myself centered and grounded and raise my vibes so that I'm in the zone. And when I'm there, I feel this gentle humming. This isn't the excitement or the happiness I feel when my kids are coming home to visit, or when I get a new client or I help somebody. This is kind of that gentle underlying joy where life feels less, like it has less friction. Things don't bother you as much. If you get the tear in your pantyhose or you hit the traffic or so forth, you can maintain your good feeling. And so that's what I think of as joy. You certainly can define it however you would like. One thing that I learned, and took me a while to too, so I'm hoping to shortcut it for you, is that you're really here for yourself. While you have contracts and relationships with other people, and you certainly take care of and help other people in your personal life and your work, you're here for yourself. And being joyful is how you advance spiritually, how you raise your vibes, how you be healthier. And so it really is all about you. And the other things are part of that, but not all of it. So your joy is important to yourself and to the world, and being joyful is important. So that's me. You heard a little about me at the beginning. That is me on a professional makeup day. Not today. That just shows me counseling clients. And we're talking about life design. You can choose. So a lot of people don't realize you actually can design your life and create opportunities and experiences that bring you more joy. That is the design. So I've recently remodeled a whole house, and it was a whole thing. You can imagine what that's like going through. So that is very much what my kitchen looks like. I am sharing that because most people spend more time designing their new kitchen than they do their life. Anybody relate to that? Anybody done a renovation? How much effort that is, right? So just consider that, whether you're putting your more attention into things like designing a kitchen or planning a vacation than you would your whole life.
That is so true, Wendy. What a great
I know you know.
things. Yes, you guys know I just finished remodeling my house too.
So this is a question to ask yourself. You know, you're investing your time, thoughts, energy, action, words, so much every day. Are they bringing you joy? Is that investment returning joy? And is there space for more joy? So here's an example of the ones that I thought of when I was thinking of you all, macro to micro, the big things and the little things. So we're going to talk about part of these, but let me just orient you in case you're not sure what each of these is. Making your way back to source, your path. So you have an overall spiritual journey where you're making your way back to source, and you have lifetime after lifetime and experiences and school and all those things to get back to source. That would certainly be the big picture. You've already designed that. You don't have to worry about this lifetime at all. You've already done that work. Then there's life design for this lifetime. Number 2, this lifetime, you planned this lifetime before you came here. That's already done. That life design is already done. You certainly can adjust and change things as you go. You have free will, but that is already designed. Now, in this lifetime, you may have already done some life design, whether you decided to go to school or become certified or spend time investing in developing your spirituality or get married, have kids. There was some planning along the way. And so then 4 through 8 are the ones we're going to talk about today. So those other things are really big. And each, as we go down, we go from 1 to 8, they get smaller and smaller. So macro to micro. Now your week, we're going to talk about the 168 formula. You have 168 hours each week. And so I have in the workbook, I have a chart for you to determine how you're currently spending those 168 hours and how you would like to invest those 168 hours.
And Wendy, do we want to put the link to the workbook up later or now? When do you want to put that up for people?
Are you able to put that in the chat?
Yes, I will do it now.
Okay. So I'll just keep going. But
yeah,
that
keep on going. You got it.
Yep. That will be there. You can bring it up on your computer. You can print it later. I do recommend you could print it later so you could actually write on it. But that is there for your use as you move forward. Then we'll talk about bookending your day, the beginning and the end of the day. Then we'll talk about choosing your responses ahead of time, choosing your responses in that moment, and then raising your vibes. So that's the big picture. So here, there is, and just put the link. So if you can click the link, but stay with me. Or maybe you can go back and forth, or it just actually, you don't even have to stay with me right now. You could just look at the page. So if you click that link, it will open, and it will open to a chart that looks like a graph. There's nothing special to this. If you don't have a printer, you could draw this on a pad. You can make your own chart. You can use mine, whatever you would like. I see somebody printing, grabbing. So here is an example. On the left are activities that you may do. This is just pulled out an example. I have a list there, and there are spaces for you to add your own. What's important? How do you spend your time? How do you invest that time? And I keep switching from spend to invest, and let's stick with invest, because you're investing your time. That might be investing your time in binging Netflix because that's how you chill. It might be investing your time in taking a walk around the block. Whatever you're doing, you're investing in yourself and your well-being, your joy level. So what these two numbers are, it's nothing magical or challenging math. On Sunday, for example, here, in the example, I sleep 7 hours, but I really want to sleep 9 hours. So I'm investing 7 hours in my sleep. I need to invest 9 hours in my sleep. Here, on Monday, I'm investing 8 hours in my sleep, but again, I really need those 9 hours. And what you can do is go through the week. Does not have to be perfect, but just notice how you're spending your time. Most people say, Wendy, I need more than 168 hours. And I know. Next time around when I'm God and I can plan time, I'll stretch it for you. That's one of our family favorite conversations, how time is a social construct, but that is beyond the scope today. But food, how much time do you invest in food prep or food shopping or eating? How much time do you invest in your spiritual development or researching and attending awesome programs like this, right? How much time do you spend now? How much time do you want to spend? And then, being with a spouse or significant other, work, kids, pets, house care, all the things. Just notice where you're spending that time. And it is worth actually doing the exercise. I swear I've had one client in all of time who said, my schedule is perfect. I love how it is. That was probably not true. But just notice whether how you're spending your time is where you want to invest.
What do you think, Wendy? How do we best, because I'm thinking through my time and recognizing I would have a hard time answering, like, are you suggesting that we kind of go through a day and take notes on what we're doing in the day to get a sense of it? Or
if you haven't thought about it before, right? It makes a lot of sense to start noticing and just jot it down. Scrap paper, back of the envelope, start noticing, oh my gosh, it takes me so much longer to do my housekeeping than I thought it did. Or it takes me so much longer to learn, deal with my computer than I thought it did. Or I thought I was spending like 5 hours a week on my spiritual development, but I'm really only spending 5 hours every other week. What you think is happening doesn't always match up with what is actually happening. And so it's great to be able to see that. And so I found this new show on Netflix. It's called New Amsterdam, and it's about a public hospital in New York City. It's super good. So do I want to spend 18 hours binging Netflix on Monday? Some Mondays, yes, right? That might be the best investment of your time. Or do you want to read a book and watch New Amsterdam for 2 episodes a week? You whatever that is, these are kind of simplified examples. But if you're not getting the sleep you need, if you're not prepping the really healthy food for you, if you are investing your time in things that you resent or that aren't a good fit, whether that be taking care of the grandkids, maybe too much, or be working in a job you don't like, or having a family member that you'd prefer to spend less time with, whatever that is, just start to observe it. That's really the big assignment, is to observe. And then you can decide whether you would like that to change or not. Does that make sense? Feel free to ask questions in the chat, please. I'm happy to hear from you. And it makes everything more interesting. Other people learn from your questions. So that is a really cool thing. I suggest if you keep a calendar, like I use Google Calendar, some people use beautiful planners, is jot down a time to start looking at this, even if you just jot down 20 minutes or half an hour, so that it jogs your memory and you start thinking whether this would be useful to you. It makes a huge difference. If you have a business, right? Anybody here have a business? If you have your business, how much time are you spending on your business? How much do you want to be? How much time are you working in the business compared to on the business to grow it? Those are questions that I talk a lot with the people I help really create the life that gives them joy. So next, we're going to talk about bookending your day. Bookending your day and choosing your responses. So if the people are in your way for my slide, then you can just move that. Whoops, let's go back. But here is bookending your day. And a friend taught me this, and it is such a valuable idea. Bookending your day is having some kind of ritual that works for you to increase joy in the morning and have experienced joy all through the day, and then to wind down to help you have a great night's sleep and to help you to increase joy. So I see people writing, and I love that. Just so you know, the workbook does have these things. It will have everything in the slides. So you are good. It's not exactly the same as the slides, but it would have the same information for all the exercises. So here's an example of a wake up joy ritual. This is not grabbing your phone as soon as you open your eyes, which I have a bad habit of doing. So not checking your email, not checking your phone, unless you're worried about a kid's gonna, one of your children's gonna text you. But here, if you start your day like this, you will be in the joy zone. And it will help you to enjoy your day more. It will help things to go more smoothly for you. And it will help you to see opportunities that come your way. This is pure example. You know what helps you feel good. Meditation is the thing that has helped me the most. When I meditate in the morning or just take time to center myself, my day is really, really different. We're going to talk about responding. I respond more the way the way I want to. I'm more outgoing. I bring opportunities to me. I'm nicer to my family. Like the real basics. I talk to myself more kindly. All those things happen because I meditate. Now, my favorite meditation is listening to a guided meditation. There are all kinds of ways to meditate. So whatever is right for you is right for you. It may just be sitting in silence. It may be listening to some classical music. It may be taking a walk and just relaxing your focus. It can be any of those things. Stretching. Stretching is a form of meditation. Cup of tea. Reading for inspiration. There are lots of books that can just kind of set your mindset for the day and be helpful. Taking a beauty walk. So taking the dog around a few blocks or a beauty walk. And what I mean by beauty walk, and I just made this term up last night when I was creating this presentation, but what it was is it's just noticing the beauty around you. I started doing that years ago when I was really trying to develop and be happier, and just noticing, that tree is gorgeous. Look at that dog. That dog's spots are so fun. Look at the sky is blue. The sun is shining, or that cloud is beautiful. Oh, it's January, so the light is low. I love the low light. All those things, starting to notice all those things around you. It changes everything. So in your workbook, you'll have these listed, and then you'll have a space. Well, how do you want to start your day? And I swear, for me, I love having things written down, but then I have to look at them, make sure I look at my list. But you get to cross these things out. If you have these written down, you get to cross them out. I swear that's why I love word finds, because I get to cross out the word as soon as I find it. So this is an amazing way to start your day.
We got a couple comments. Donna just brought up a good point, which is that she says a good thing. She says, and I think a good reminder is that if we don't have time to do this ritual right when we wake up, we can still do it 2 hours later. I think that's a super good reminder. Very good
Yeah,
point. And then
right. And
Annie brought up, oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
And Annie also said, she said, thank you for this tool. I have found myself thinking about these things because my kids are pretty much out of our house now. So a more obvious opening in my time than I might usually get. So I think a lot of us can relate to that too.
Absolutely. We're just, my last one is out of the nest.
Yeah.
So I know it is really actually that time. There's different transitions in our life, and that time really is a time to reflect and be like, who am I going to be next? Right? It's a fresh start. And the angels have been talking about fresh starts and that new beginning energy, which I just love. And it can be the new year, right? We're talking about this at the beginning of the year. We think of it as, I still think of back to school as this new energy. But you can really pull that energy in anytime you want. And to the comment that you can do these 2 hours, yes, make this your own. What fits your life, what works for me or for someone else is not going to work for you. So thank you very much for pointing that out. Even just kind of a deep breath. I close my eyes and ground myself and then try to lift my energy. Even doing something like that, or knowing this is coming, is going to make a difference for you, for sure. Thank you so much.
So can I ask you with these, how much time do you dedicate to these in the morning and the evening?
This can be literally 5 minutes. It could be half an hour. It could be an hour. And maybe you have different versions. This is my weekday version. This is my weekend version. This is my, I don't want to deal with this version.
I like that you can have this as like a that you, if you don't have time to do all the things in a day, maybe you pick and choose. Maybe you look at the thing as
Oh,
a, today the thing I'm going to do is have a cup of tea and read an
exactly.
inspirational thing. Or today my thing is going to be I'm going to take a bath and that's my thing. So maybe it's an a la carte menu if you don't have
Absolutely.
time for all the
You
things.
know
Yeah.
what? You could make a list, and you can pull anything off this list or add your own, but you can make a list and you're like, I'm picking one. I'll
Hmm.
just pick one a day.
Hmm.
Right. So there is no perfection in a spiritual journey or creating the life that you want. There's no perfection, and perfection just isn't necessary. I mean, we're human. There's no chance of perfection. No chance.
I love that just by having, if you have it on a list and you've decided that it means that this is going to be doing something that brings you joy, that just lighting a candle can make you feel like you've done something for yourself. And that is a cool thought, because I know there's times when we feel like, oh my gosh, the days flip by. But if we just, oh, you know what, if I just take a minute and you can do that so quickly. So I love that. I love that the a la carte plan appeals to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just pick and some days you're going to feel like one thing and not the other.
We got a
Um,
couple more contributions. Let me just scroll my chat up here.
sure.
Um, but Annie says it is also a little surprising that joy does not have to be big, huge deal like it often is portrayed joy, but that it can be a gentle experience, so that maybe you're feeling joy without even realizing it, like many things. So I think that's also good. Is what our expectation? What does joy have to be? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
not Disney World, right? It's not
yeah.
Disney World. It's just living your regular life and doing your laundry and going to work and, having tea with a friend. It's just those normal things. The
And Donna
gentle,
added, I want to add lighting up my light in the AM to shine through the day like the angels told us to do. Love that, Donna. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can put lighting your light, raising your vibes. Please, I would love to, and in Anne's, Spirit Means Business Facebook group, that would be a great place for you to put feedback and like what you've tried, what worked, what didn't work. That would be really fun to continue the conversation.
Love it. Totally love it.
So
And
that's
Annie is trying to notice when she does 3 for me and 1 for others at least. So during the day, I'm paying attention and making note of it. There's my 1, there's my 2. So noticing when she's taking care of herself as opposed to when she's taking care of others. So that's cool too, to be mindful of that.
that's an amazing ratio. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And somehow we fall into taking care of others so much. I see it's mostly women on the call that happens, right? And so we need to look at that. And again, where our investment is. And one thing I've learned too is in my helping businesses who are owned by human beings, people try to do so much on their own. But when you allow other people to walk on their own and to figure things out, whether it be your kids or an employee or a spouse, I have told my husband I am not, as he says, the Google. Letting people figure things out themselves is very valuable to their growth. Something to consider. Okay, and then the end of the day, the wind down. If you're on TV or on your phone, that blue light affects your sleeping. If you'd like to be more peaceful, have a more joy and a better night's sleep, and then wake up with the positive energy, it helps to go to bed with it. So this is where it's the same kind of list. You get to pick your own. You get to take it a la carte. You could do it at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever works for you. Does everybody know what a gratitude journal is? So a gratitude journal, I see some nods. A gratitude journal is simply jotting down what you're grateful for. So you can jot down 3 things. I'm grateful for the sound of my kids slurping cereal. I'm grateful that the sky was blue today. I'm grateful that I had my wisdom soup session today. Yeah, I did that for years. And it was really interesting. There are some journals available online. They're 5-year journals. And so it was very interesting to see because it has the date and it just has a little space like this. You certainly can do it yourself too. But like I could see a year ago, I was grateful for this. A year ago, the year before that, I was grateful for that. And that was kind of cool to see. And especially if you mention someone else, that gives you a great opportunity to reach out to them and say, hey, I saw like you did this a year ago, or this was our experience a year ago. It's kind of fun.
That's a very cool idea. It's a neat journal. I haven't seen one like that before.
Yeah,
That sounds
I think if you Google and look for 5-year journal,
okay.
Let me write that down because I can look for it and put it, if it's okay with you, put it in your
Yeah,
group
absolutely.
as an example. Okay. I actually, when I was in management, I actually bought one for each of the members of my team.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, pulling this into business is really effective. Any other comments on book ending?
I think we're good.
Awesome. Now, choosing your responses. This is something I learned when I studied with Jack Canfield, who is the Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup for the Soul books and Success Principles. You can pre-choose your responses, which is really cool. So we think about what you can control are your thoughts and the images you hold in your head, your actions, and the words you say, including tones. And I would add vibrations in that, right? Because you can raise your vibrations when you want, probably by controlling all those other things and to raise it. But say, things are going to happen to you that just annoy the heck out of you. right? It might be how a neighbor parks in front of your house, or it could be traffic. It could be the weather. There's a whole bunch of things, weather, COVID restrictions, rules, HOA rules. I live in an HOA for the first time, or own a house for the first time in an HOA. So there's like all those things that can annoy you through the day, and you're going to have to respond to them in some way. What's cool is that you can decide ahead of time how to respond to those. This is the energy I'm going to hold. This is what I'm going to say. This is how I'm going to handle it. So I have a place in the workbook for you to jot down, like, what are some of the things that annoy you consistently? And recognizing those and deciding ahead is very powerful. And you'll be so darn proud of yourself when you do respond the way you want, that you will feel more joy.
That really makes me think of like when I'm trying to make sure I'm eating well, that if I plan my meals in advance, then I'm not eating when I'm hungry and eating the wrong thing. And so I think this is probably the same thing as if we're left to the moment when we're at the impulse, or in the, when we're hangry, whatever it
Yes.
is, then it's easier to make a good choice if you have it readily available because you've already thought it through. That's a smart idea.
Exactly. I love the analogy. It is exactly the same thing. And so that would be pre-choosing a response. I'm hungry. What am I going, having the healthy stuff there ready to eat. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness for hummus for those moments. And in the moment, you can choose your responses. We talked about meditation a few minutes ago. What I have found is that meditation actually gives me a beat. It stretches time. So we joked about creating time earlier. Meditation for me, and I would guess for you too, actually stretches time a bit. So there's actually a beat, so you can choose your response in that moment. So something comes up you didn't plan for, you're not remembering your chosen response. It catches you off guard. Now, there are going to be moments where we have knee-jerk responses. We're human. We could be hangry. We could be stressed about something. But what I have found that I get to have a lot more choice about how I respond when I'm in my joy zone, when I've been meditating. So test that and see if it works for you, because I swear time stretches. And I need some astrophysicists to tell me that that is true, but I experienced that anyway. So here is a formula, and it's E plus R equals O. So that's an event comes at you plus your response equals an outcome. So that event might be, right, your spouse is grouchy, the weather is bad, you're worried about, the political administration, like all these things that we're not directly controlling. So things can still come at you, even when you're in the joy zone. Like, it's not that you still don't have stuff come up, right? But it's that you get to choose your response, and therefore you're influencing the outcome the way you want it to be, instead of then help me, Ann. Not
exacerbating.
Exacerbating, which is exasperating. Exactly. So this is super cool, because you can choose your response. So there's a place in your workbook to actually choose the pre-choose. And so you can get the outcome you want. And it's a formula. So you could say, this is the outcome I want, so this is the response I'm going to have.
One thing that really brings to mind for me is, so I have someone who's very dear to me, who is a different, if many of you are familiar with my soul type model, and there's one of the soul types that is the expressive soul type, which is what Wendy also is, by the way. And
You can talk dirty on expressives.
well, expressiveness comes out in many different ways. And this particular person is someone who would have, they would get emotional. They would get very emotional. And me being me, this person would come to me and they would share with me what was upsetting about them, and I would want to solve. And I would want to be like, well, let's fix it. You're sad. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. And I'd be looking at different things. And it was really not the right response for her. It's not what she was looking for. And it wasn't until another expressive explained to me she doesn't want it solved. What she wants is to feel her feelings, and feeling being sad is the goal. And it totally turned my mind around and made me realize, like, me trying to solve it is taking away what she wants, is to bond through this connection of me giving her space to feel her feelings and to allow her to be sad for, not forever, but she would go through this cycle of 3 times of telling me the thing, and then we were all good. But then knowing that gave me a chance to choose my response. And so I would see that she was entering into this. She wanted to have this connection and have this conversation. And so I would have to choose okay, this is what this is. I am not going to solve. I'm going to listen. I'm going to support. I'm going to give her space to talk about. I'm going to ask questions. And I showed up differently, and it was like magic. And it was this, I think, for me, in terms of choosing my response and then generating the outcome, and I actually got to what I really wanted, which was solution space, much faster, because she needed to have her space to just go through it. And then she naturally evolved into that space of, okay, now I'm good, you know?
You both got, but because of your new response, right? You both got the outcomes that you want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
She felt heard and
Yeah,
kind of got that energy out. And
yeah,
then you got to when she could get through it faster and be able to solve it.
yeah, yeah. And it was so being present, being mindful, and choosing my response in advance and thinking, this is how I'm going to do it this time. Yeah. And it worked.
It's powerful. It's cutting down on that friction, right? So choosing
Yeah.
your response cuts down on friction in your life. And
Mm-hmm.
there are days where I move through and there's no friction and I'm like, whoa. And then of course the next week I'm like crawling on the floor with friction. Um, so yeah, but the more you can spend time in this joy zone, the less friction you feel, and life is just better and easier. You get more done. It's cool. You have less technology problems, all the things. I'm just thinking that because of Mercury in retrograde, and I
Oh,
had to change all my passwords on everything this morning. They're not telling me my password isn't my password. I'm like, you know how that goes, everybody.
oh gosh. Yeah, it got me this time around too. I had a bunch of stuff. I'm currently, as a matter of fact, on my laptop as opposed to my regular computer because I have had to replace more computer parts. So, so yes, Mercury is
You're
definitely
just going to explode one of these days.
I know.
Uh, so here, this is what we mentioned a few minutes ago. These are the things you really can control. There is nothing else in your life that you can control. Can't control your kids, can't control your spouse, can't control your sister, all the things. This is what you actually can control. So that allows you a couple things. One, you can choose these things, and believe it or not, right? You can learn to control your thoughts and the images you hold in your head, which is really cool. I see it as a muscle. Learning how to do this is a muscle, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And part of it is simply being mindful, being aware of what you're thinking. When you're ruminating and you're like, rah, 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 my sister did this, rah, 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 I have a sister, can you tell? Um, if you're replaying and replaying, that's not being mindful, but you can absolutely learn to control these things. And doing your bookending your day, knowing what you can control, what you can't, that's very powerful. And then, so pre-choosing your responses, it's the same thing. You can pre-choose all these things. In the moment, if you are centered, if you're in that joy zone, then you can you can choose these things too. These slides are changing. It's just the time frame.
Do you know the other thing that comes to mind about choosing your responses is I think about that in meditation, is that there are times when going into meditation when there are distractions,
Yeah.
where say you have a time and it is your time to meditate, and the person with the weed eater decides that that's the time that they're going to go work on their lawn, And if I go into the meditation and decide in advance that I'm going to perceive that distraction as white noise or as something like, if I hear a motor or something like that, then I say, oh, I'm going to think of that as, drumming that's helping me in my meditation. That if I put a different valence on it, if I choose to see it differently, it rather than it pulling out of meditation, it can put me deeper into meditation. So that I think is another example of choosing responses that could be interesting. It's just something I have done that's
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely. Absolutely. Um, yeah, especially when you're recording, someone will definitely be out there. I guarantee it. So just decide ahead of time how you're going to deal with it without yelling at the guy. So I have found that all those things, being able to create the outcomes you want, being bookending your day, choosing how you're going to invest your time, the 168 hours each week, that helps. All those things help raise your vibrations, right? Which when your vibes are raised, that's really the joy zone. You're going to be happier and healthier and glide in the world much more smoothly, which is super cool.
It's very cool. I think it really strikes me as you're just talking about it's about really being mindful in a way with some very practical tools, starting the day that way, ending the day that way. I think it gives you space to listen to yourself too, so that and that does raise your vibration. If you're giving time for you to be in communion with yourself, that does help you to bring in there's the stuff that ends up getting squished down because we don't make time for ourselves, right? That ends up eroding our vibration and putting us into a state of disharmony. So I think it's a very, very cool techniques.
Yeah. And even all those things, and that's creating time just to be. And as humans, we need time to just be, not always doing, right? You're a human being, not a human doing. And you have value when you're not doing anything. Even if you just sit there and are looking at the view or your orchid in the pot, that has value. That's what you need in that moment. So you can be present for all the other moments.
I'm curious if anybody else, if you want to put it in the chat, if anybody else has anything you do for a wake up or a wind down ritual that you would add to that checklist for the rest of us. If anybody has anything you do, whether that you would like to do or that you do that you would add to the list. Brittany says my orchid is about to bloom. Yay.
I have been thinking about an orchid. I need to know, are they hard to take care of? Because I would love to have one. I live here in Pittsburgh and we have botanical gardens, and there is a whole room of all different orchids. And I'm more of a succulent person, right? That you just water it twice a month and then don't even worry about it again. And orchids, I know, are the opposite of that.
Brittany says this is the first one I didn't kill.
Ah,
I have heard that they'll last for a long time. I've heard that when they die, that if you keep them, they'll come back again. That if you they'll bloom over and over and over. So don't just chuck them when they die. Apparently, they'll come back and
interesting.
have another round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else is in the chat? I can't see it right now. Oh, there it is. It's up.
Donna's saying currently trying to revive one, but have never been successful. Okay. I think that maybe that's the harder part. Yeah. All right. Are there any specific questions for Wendy about this, about in terms of are any of you facing challenges in terms of your life design, feeling like things are not unfolding the way you want them to in terms of your day? I'm just letting people act there. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it is a being present and not letting our days slip away. I think it is one of the more, and I've just gone through a busy, busy time with my remodel. So I definitely feel that I'm trying very hard right now to develop new habits in my new home that are going to be supportive. So this is super top of mind for me right now because I feel like I have an opportunity. It's like for those of you who, who were feeling like, okay, this is whether it be children just leaving the home. For me, it's moving into a new home. It is a time when we can use that shift or that change as a time to be really present and think through. And he's saying, I have several in my north facing bathroom and have not had them for years. I do nothing to them except this is about the orchids, except, oopsie, I lost you.
So Diane has,
Water them.
I can see the chat now. So Diane has a really important question. What happens when you are thinking negative thoughts? So first of all, Diane, it's going to be normal to think negative thoughts, right? But what happens if you can observe, if you realize you're having those negative thoughts, first you're on the right track, right? It's when the rumination happens and you're like rah, 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 right? That's where it's not healthy for you. You are going to have negative emotions sometimes, right? So let's just say that first.
Yeah.
The second part of it is you can pre-choose what you're going to place in your mind when you start thinking negatively, right? So just so you know, I talk about this stuff a lot. And so my kids will say, Mom, and they help me get back on track, right? So the people around you can get help back on track. The other thing I do that I learned, I took the Silva method like 30 years ago, I think. And from that, I started doing not only finding parking spaces, but I also, I do, so what I do is when I'm thinking something or imagining something I don't want, I do like, I see like Xing it out in my mind's eye. And I say, cancel, cancel. And then I put like a positive thought in there. I feel grateful for something. Gratitude is the best way to pull yourself out of anything. So, Anne, do you have any other suggestions?
Gratitude is huge. And so for example, if I'm trying to channel and if I feel like if I'm distracted or if I feel like if it's just taking me a while to form that connection, I will deliberately go into gratitude in order to raise that's the tool I use to raise my frequency is I will think grateful thoughts and it's like instantaneous to get my vibe a little bit higher. But yeah, if I find if I'm having the other thing that I'll do if I'm having mind, like if my mind is going, like say for example, if I'm trying, and it'll hit me sometimes at night when I get quiet, that quiet time trying to go to sleep, and then I'll start thinking about, oh, I didn't do this, or I've got like like my mind. So I do two things. One is to put things down on a list. If I'm having negative thoughts about I didn't do this, or I've got to work on that, or I write it down, make a list, get it out of my head. Otherwise, it just circulates. The other thing I do is I give my mind a name. I've named my brain, and then I talk to my brain, and my brain's name is Lewis. And I tell Lewis, I say, thank you so much, Lewis. Thank you so much for all the ways in which you've helped me today. Thank you for, for doing everything. You've worked really, really hard. Now, thank you. You can take a break. And that seems to work. And I express my gratitude toward that part of myself. That is, and so for if it could be the same thing with if you're having fear is rising up. You can speak to your fear. Thank you for caring for me. Thank you for looking out for me. Thank you for protecting me to that aspect of yourself. And for now, I'm okay. You can relax. You can rest. I got it from here. Speak to that self. And it just can help to kind of like acknowledge it, thank it, gratitude to yourself. And giving it a name seems to make a difference for me.
And I like that you are separating your mind from yourself.
Yeah.
Because you are not your mind. Your thoughts are something different than what you are.
Yes.
And so that's, I love the technique. And then I love the, like behind that. A few other things to do would be, taking a shower helps for me. I swear that it clears my energy field.
That's a true thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They even say, and I don't usually do it, but like if you've had a very stressful day or just as a habit, if you shower at night before you go to bed, it clears things before you go to sleep. So that can be a useful tool.
Brittany has a good one. She says, I used to try to redirect negative thoughts, but the next time my energy dropped, they'd just come back with a vengeance. Finally, I vented in a journal and it was so nasty. It made me laugh really hard. It was so healing. That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love journaling. You're right. Journaling could be on that list. Journaling in the morning
Mhm.
or at night could be on that list. Um, Another thing that I had down here is that remember, just because you think thoughts doesn't mean it's real. So we make up stories to tell ourselves, talking dirty on ourselves or situations or so forth, right? And that doesn't mean it's factual. Your emotions are there, but it doesn't mean it's factual. I'm not discounting them or saying they're not valuable or they're not real, but they may not be factual. So being able to realize that as a human, we make up stories, we think things that aren't true. Well, somebody is thinking this about me, or I looked this way and I didn't, they were judging me or something. That's probably not true. 99% chance not true, but we make up stories that aren't true. So because we know that we do that, you can make up stories that serve you. Why make up stories that don't serve you? So watch how you talk to yourself, right? Talk to yourself like you would your best friends. That's another tool you can use. Yeah. Take in the bath, meditate in the tub. Great.
Yeah. Excellent. And she's saying, thank you so much. Oh, at the same here. I love that, Shelley. I have never meditated in the tub. Yeah. And I love that as well. I've done some amazing self-healing in the bathtub. So you're already in water. You might as well take
Right.
advantage of it. Water is spirit.
Candle, take the
So,
bath. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, Wendy, thank you so much. We're getting loads of thank yous in the chat. So I think everybody has really appreciated your time and everything you put together for us. I'm excited to try some of these. I'm actually in love with this idea of the having the a la carte menu from which to choose from as ways of unwinding, because I feel like it's going to allow me to, okay, today I've got time for a bathtub, tub, but then tomorrow I just have time for the candle, but I can still do something where I feel present and it brings me back to the present. I'm excited for that. So thank you. Thank you for all these great ideas. And thank you
You're
guys so much for
welcome.
joining. Thank you for being here. And we are all excited to be part of this group and to be able to experience awesome speakers like Wendy. And we will be back again next month, always on the second Thursday of the month. The time varies based on the needs of the time and the speaker and what's going on, but it's always going to be the second Thursday of the month. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Wendy. It was awesome.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys. Have a great day.